Coming up on the Daily AI Show.
It seemed at that time that it was going to be very important to have something like Chatbase, a chatbot builder.
Microsoft Copilot is on their list of things that they may be moving away from.
Tease out the result that I'm looking for. I no longer need that specific tool.
Welcome everybody for the Daily AI Show. Today is December 26th, 2024. And like I said, you're listening to the Daily AI Show. And we have Beth, Jyunmi, Andy, and I'm Brian. And today, although we don't really celebrate it here in the States where the four of us are, it is a Boxing Day, which is a big post sort of Christmas holiday that has a lot of cool meanings to it that actually I was just learning about yesterday from Beth. And the reason I bring up that it's Boxing Day is based on some of the ideas and traditions of it. We thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about some of the technologies that we we're doing away with for one reason or another. Like what's staying, what's going, if it's a metaphorical sort of cleaning out your house or tidying up, as we at the end of the year, which is a great thing to do. What's staying, what's going to get us the most efficient in 2025. And I bring this back to my mom, who always thought that, it's a good idea to pretend like you're moving from your house every 2 years. And that's always sort of stuck with me because you get into those closets, you get into those nooks and crannies where things have been shoved in the junk drawer in the kitchen that's overflowing now. And it's a good opportunity to try to sort of take stock, look at what you have and decide what makes the most sense moving forward. And so whether that's part of Boxing Day, that's sort of where my head is today as we get past the holiday yesterday and sort of really setting our eyes here on New Year's and 2025. So with that, I'd love to kick it off to anybody that, and welcome to everybody in the chat. I see people already in the chat as well. But I'd love to hear from anybody who has like maybe that, maybe you love something at the beginning of 2024. It could be 2023 too. And you're just like, you know what? It's just not part of my daily routine anymore. I used it because I love this AI part of it, but it just hasn't made it. And I don't see it maybe making it into my 2025, tech stack, if you will, or whatever. Does anybody have that like sort of right off the bat, service, what software?
Yeah, I totally have one. Writing tools.
Like what?
Hyperwrite and
Jasper?
Jasper. Yeah, exactly. All of those. Anything the base frontier models have gotten so advanced, and I guess, and then my ability to tease out the result that I'm looking for, I no longer need that specific tool. Right. I used to just get started with them. It's like, oh, these are easy plugins. Okay, cool. I can just do it as part of my day-to-day routine. But I find more of my work living in the platform of the frontier model. And so the more I can do there, that's just superseded using these, ancillary add-ons and things like that. Maybe there'll be another killer app or something like that. But those are the ones that I ditched the quickest. So.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. Those were sort of we still see them, obviously. I'm sure they still have good subscription bases, but these are like sort of the earlier tools that seem to be just wrappers over a 3.5 or something like that. There were so many of them. Jasper was what, Jarvis, but they had to change the name, right, for legal reasons or whatever. And then it became Jasper, and there's Co-Write and Hyperwrite and others. But I agree with you. I never actually signed up for any of those because they always did just seem like wrappers. But there is a lot to be said for tools that are wrappers that just have a really, really great user interface that have stood the test of time, despite the fact that their technology isn't so different at this point and their abilities from, ChatGPT or specifically Claude, which does a phenomenal job of writing creatively and stuff. Yeah, I agree with you. I never really signed up for them, but yeah, I can't imagine why I would or why it would be part of my 2025 unless it just had an amazing user experience. It would just have to be phenomenal. And then that might drag me back, even if it wasn't technically better than the base model that it's probably built off of, I don't know. Maybe it's got a mixture of experts. You were just talking about that, Beth, in Slack. We're talking about a new show with that. So maybe it does a mixture of experts or does something super cool by mixing and matching some of the models. Possibly. I'm not saying it's a no, but anyway, you're about to say something, Beth.
I also don't use the writing tools anymore, but Jasper is the reason that I knew ChatGPT came out, because I was looking for a tool that was going to be less expensive than Jasper, because Jasper was a lot and still kind of hard to use. So I was literally looking for, like, are there any other AI tools that would help you write? This is insane. And so when ChatGPT came out, I like all the feeds that were saying, is this the Jasper killer? I was like, please, that's an awesome way to do it.
Well, that begs the question: what was Jasper built off of prior to that? Just like 3.0 or something, or
Maybe. I don't know.
that's
I don't
interesting. I would have thought they were in reverse order. That's funny that they're. I didn't know that. I would have assumed Jasper came after the deluge of late 2022.
No, there were a couple. Jasper wasn't even the most expensive, I think. There was one that was even more than that I was like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work for me. But the other thing about those is that ChatGPT, even at 3.5 or whatever it was when it first came out, was so much better at the conversational kind of writing. What I really wanted from a tool was, I'm going to write it the way that I think it, and then I want you to make it something that I can send to a business as like a cover letter, or as like, I'd love to do this volunteer for you, or that sort of thing. Yeah, it was so much better at that, being able to like, Jasper was a little bit more like, we have a brand, we have like a certain writing style and all of that, and so it can write in that, but it wasn't my use case.
Hmm.
The tool that I used really heavily in the beginning, but have not since, I guess it's not, yeah, no, it's the beginning of 2024, because custom GPTs came out in 2023, right? Grimoire.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah, maybe.
a huge Grimoire fan.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And the other tools have come up now. And I'm still interested in Nick Dobos, who's the creator of Grimoire, and what he's doing, but I have not opened Grimoire in months.
And so, for a reminder for our audience, Grimoire is a coding assistant.
Yeah, Grimoire was like the top coding custom GPT. Again, you could go in and you could say, you could give it the code. You could say, look, I want to do this with Python. Will you write the code for me? Or just, I want to do this. Go, right? Like, I don't even know enough to ask for the Python script. And there were times where I was writing something and I would bring it and say, okay, so what's wrong with this? Why isn't this happening? The other thing that Grimoire was really good at is standing up a site. It would, on Netlify or Netlify, you could ask it to do something and then it would like actually port it over to that. And now, I mean, Replit, right? All of those like coding assistants now that will stand up the site for you, are just like, they've surpassed that for me.
Yeah, and I mean, Jeff just said in the comments, GitHub Copilot for him. He switched over to Cursor, and obviously Andy has had quite a bit of experience with some of the Replit, Cursor, Bolt. Carl just mentioned one on LinkedIn the other day, and he said, "Try this tool. I really like it. I wish he was here." I said, "Ask him what they're."
Lovable is the one that's.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that one before. But I was like, God, there's another one that I have to try to, and usually Carl's got his finger on that pulse, or obviously Andy, you do too. But I don't know that anybody from our group, maybe Carl was using GitHub Copilot, maybe you, Beth. That's an interesting comment from Jeff, because I think what I wasn't even thinking was GitHub Copilot. I was thinking of Google's, what's it called, Beth? The AI studio where it has that, where you can run the code, Colab.
Yeah, Colab Notebook. Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, Beth, for you now, because I mean, obviously your level of coding, if you will, is higher than mine. I know that, but like, would you do you still feel like, you know what, I can I can poke around. I can do this. I can work with a Python script or something like that. I feel like your level of understanding of Python is definitely higher than mine. So now, if you're not using Grimoire, like, what are you using? Because that was a free resource. And obviously, Replit's not, Cursor's not. That they may be a little bit more advanced than what you currently need. So what is your go-to now?
All right. So this is one of those points where I feel like we should upload a little audio thing so that we can like go Perplexity, right? Because that is actually what I do.
The fireworks. For real, you use Perplexity for your coding help?
For real, when I need to get something started, I use Perplexity because I can point Perplexity at the docs website, right?
Mhm.
I can go to the specific website that gives the snippet of code that then I can say, I want to do this, but I want to do it for this file, or I want it to look at spelling.txt, which I'm going to upload to the Colab notebook, those sorts of things. But the Colab system also includes Gemini in it. So sometimes when there's something wrong, Colab will now say, give you the error and then say, would you like to investigate this with Gemini?
And my suspicion is that in using Perplexity, you have Perplexity set to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet,
Sonnet, yes.
because that's one of the very best coding LLMs.
Okay.
And so Perplexity in combination are set to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet is a really good coding assistant.
Right. I will say that the individual coding assistants that are specialized are better than Perplexity,
Mhm.
and 3.5, but I am a good enough, I'm a fan of good enough. Like, if I wanna publish this or, like, use it as a demo, I will go the extra steps, but it can be messy if it's just a gap, like a gap closer for me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, speaking of coding, I don't know, Andy, was that going to be on your list of any tools? Because obviously you've been, head down hard at work on some stuff we're building out for the Daily AI show, or Daily AI, strategies, sort of our LLC side of things. And there's just some really cool projects there. We don't necessarily have to get into that, but like, obviously, you have put your fingers on quite a bit of different types of coding help. Are there any like tools that you're like, yeah, no, I don't see myself going back to that now that I have this? That's just not in your tech stack anymore.
Yeah, I had in the process of working on the application that I have been working on for a very long time, but making some progress and running into roadblocks and so on. I've jumped from one of the coding platforms to another to try it out, see if it would get past the obstacles in them. I guess too complex application that I'm trying to build with these coding assistants. And one of the things that I shifted to from Replit, where I started, was to bolt.new.
Hmm.
And so, maintaining two different approaches, they use, you can direct them to use different and specific coding languages. But, it turned out that I have these two branches. I have the Replit one, and it's working now in React, and I have the Bolt one that's using something else. And I've actually abandoned Bolt, although I continue to pay for that subscription. But that's one of the things that I'll probably discard soon, because Replit has a very, very good reputation, and it's got really good, financial backing, including, I think, Google is one of the investors in Replit. So I'm going to kind of commit to using Replit on an ongoing basis, and I'm generally satisfied with it. But though as I've told you guys, I'm currently blocked by a failure of that system to be able to roll back to a prior position where there were working functions that got broken in a subsequent effort. So anyway, I'll get past those obstacles. But yeah, that's it. But I wanted to take a tangent here and say I'm confused about the whole concept of Boxing Day, and I think that there's a connection to what we're talking about now, which is in effect discarding no longer terribly useful or abandon things that we ought to repurpose or give away, and that isn't really what the spirit of Boxing Day is in the British Empire. right? The British Empire.
I'm going off of Beth, so yeah, go ahead. Okay. I don't celebrate it. Please. I'm sure speaking of like Brian, you messed that up.
With a twist, we can make it work this way, but it requires that we take the things that we no longer find useful and be able to give them to someone else, right? Because the foundation of Boxing Day was from the British gentry, like think Downton Abbey, like the wealthy, gentry would have all their servants working on Christmas Day for their own celebrations, but they would give the 26th off to the servants, and they would gift them a box of provisions from the leftovers of the Christmas Day celebrations that they could then take to their homes and eat and have the day off. That's what Boxing Day was. And now it's gotten twisted and turned, we're like somehow connected to the British Empire historically, and in the United States, we've made it into something that I don't recognize anymore.
I always thought it was like a Black Friday, like kind of like if you went to other countries that celebrate more of a Boxing Day. I always thought it was more akin to the U.S. version of a Black Friday, which doesn't.
It has that now. It has that connotation here because there are special deals that are available on the 26th. And I always thought, before studying it through Perplexity, hey, again, Perplexity literally in 2.5 seconds comes back with the entire foundational history of Boxing Day and all that stuff. So that's great. But I'm not going to give that up. I'm not giving up my Perplexity. But I always thought it was just getting rid of the boxes that you got on Christmas Day, like to recycling or whatever.
No, I love that we have 4 Americans here. We're like, listen, like we're missing our Canadian, we're missing our Australian, who probably could bring in some more insights here. That is more of a holiday. It's just not. It's at least for me. I can't say for everybody. I've seen the States. It has never been. I'm aware of it, but I was like, you told me more about Boxing Day that I probably have learned in my entire life in the last 30 seconds. And then what that's
without Perplexity and without this show, I would never have learned.
I know, right? See, there you go. Look what we provide to everybody. It means yet another service to every loyal listener. Don't worry, we will help you understand Perplexity. We'll help you understand Boxing Day and all.
I do have some things that I would love to be able to give away, which could be very useful to other people, but which are not useful to me. And that is going all the way back to 2023. It seemed at that time that it was going to be very important to have something like Chatbase, a chatbot builder that had all the tools you needed to launch a chatbot. And, custom GPTs to a large degree, replaced that for me. I bought a lifetime subscription to Retune, and Retune is such a thing. And I have literally never logged into it. So anybody out there who needs this packed up in a box and given to you, if there's a way I can do that, I'm passing it on to you.
So you would say you would have sit past on the Rabbit R1. I thought that's what you.
Right. Close to my heart, and I'm keeping it.
By the way, I gotta love Joel Andrews' last comment, which is a explaining, which I think is exactly what that is, Joel. So I don't know if you just made that up or it came to mind or that's a thing, but that is what happened. Yeah, listen to a bunch of Americans tell you about something we don't celebrate traditionally in the States. That's okay. It's gonna happen from time to time. But we're gonna continue on our theme, even if it wasn't maybe we're working with the Boxing Day theme here. So I know for me it probably goes to a couple of tools that I definitely used in 2024, and I kind of tried to keep it within this year, kind of like yesterday. Like think about this year and where it started and where I think what January looks like in 2025 versus 2024. And for me, I've had probably the most variance, the most change in image creation tools. I mean, I feel like I have now put my fingers on, and I probably haven't. I feel like 75% of them, I probably in all actuality touched 15% or less of the tools. But for a long time, I would use things like Leonardo. I have nothing bad to say about Leonardo. In fact, they're doing some really, really cool recent things with Leonardo .ai. But would I pay for it right now like I used to in the past? No. Midjourney. I have paid for Midjourney subscriptions in the past. And look, we can't really argue with the quality of what we get out of Midjourney images. But have I logged in, or do I see myself logging into Midjourney? Now, anything could change, because again, any one of these could come out with an amazing tool and I will be right back in the mix. I've always say I have no allegiances. And I think in AI, you kind of, right now, you shouldn't. You should always be willing to pivot, and we all have pivoted multiple times. And so I just think about the different tools that I would use. And so now where I am is, I'll throw another one on there, Meta. I used to do image creation with Meta. Meta actually, if you've never gone and just worked with the chatbot with Meta, like at meta.ai, whatever the website is, it's actually a very very good chatbot, right? It's up there. It's built off, I'm sure, their llama models and stuff like that. But anyway, you could do image creation on there. Early on, if you remember, early DALL-E 3 would give you 4 images, and then it quickly went down to 1, and it got very, very laborious to try to come up with a new image for the newsletter or other things that we were doing. And so now I end up doing more of a pay to play and more of a token model, which sort of works for me. And I've been logging into Fall.ai, FAL.ai. And Fall in itself is not an image creator or a video creator. It's just a place to go to use other models. So as these new models come up, Flux, a lot of people have heard of Flux. It drives me nuts because it gets attributed to Grok, on X, which it just has access to Flux. It isn't an image generator in itself, but a lot of people in the last couple months said, oh my God, create amazing images. It has access to Flux. So regardless, that tends to be where I go. Flux is actually the model. Flux One Pro Ultra, I think it is the actual model that I use through Fall to create images, and I have a lot of success there. But it's an interesting area that I think is, no pun intended, in flux all the time with image creation, which is that I do seem to move around a lot, and I just haven't found that just slam dunk solution that gives me enough flexibility in what I'm asking for, gives me enough generations that I have something to look at that I can kind of build off of, that I can make edits to, that I can scrub over. And so I'm that's just sort of where I am. But 2024 has been a very weird year for image creation. And I honestly am looking for that to slow down a bit and stabilize in 2025. Because I do kind of feel like I've been all over the place, but that's at a necessity. That's because I feel like for what I need to generate for work, through Scaled, for the Daily AI Show, definitely for the newsletter, because I'm always putting out sort of a comic, and sometimes we add other images to the newsletter. It's something I need on a week-to-week basis, and it just, yeah. So I don't know. There's a few there that I don't see myself going back to, but then again, Leonardo just came out with some really cool stuff, and so who knows? I may be right back in it in 2025, and I don't see it right now. So some people were about to say some stuff there, and I didn't want to cut you off.
So I'll jump in about image generation. One, Midjourney did just come out with an amazing tool. So look for that on a show in the future. It's their mood board, but in tools that I don't use anymore, and I'm looking at the little thing in my toolbar, my plugins, which I need to get rid of. Glyph. Glyph was a really important tool.
That's right. I use that one too.
For a very small amount of time for me, and then sort of moved away. I loved how personalized it could get, and that you could you could just be searching, and the plugin let you click on an image wherever you were and say glyph this, and it would create a prompt based on that image. And so it was a great thing to be able to try to experiment with styles if you didn't know the art words that would be used to describe that style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Two that are in the chat are Pi and Po, Anybody want to talk about either of those? Because I can tell you, I can't say that I used Pi a lot in 2024. That would be more of a 2023. I have a sort of I'm sorry, Poe. I'm saying them backwards. I apologize. Poe, Poe. Um, I do have sort of a sentimental spot in my heart because Poe was how I got the very first access to Claude. If you remember, you couldn't get access to Claude anywhere else. And Rachel Woods from the AI Exchange was the one that said, use this app called Poe and you will be able to do it. And then I think, Andy, you probably initially told me about Pi, and that was very cool. Then they got sort of bought out. What was it? Anthropic bought them? Who bought them? And we thought, oh, maybe that's the end of them. And I haven't gone back to them, but I always thought they were one of the coolest, earliest advanced voice modes out there. I thought they were doing it better than anybody. But I don't know where their future is going forward.
Microsoft acqui-hired basically
That's what it was.
almost the entire Pi staff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So what are they going to do with that? Is Microsoft going to come out with, are they using it part of their Bing chat? Are they going to have a more advanced voice mode? That's not really what ChatGPT is doing. We know there's they both work together as partners, but they're also competitors in a lot of ways. And so I can't imagine they acqui-hired with no intent to do something with it. Clearly they thought that team was good enough to help Microsoft move in a certain area. I mean, obviously. So yeah, but both Pi and Poe. I don't know if anybody, Andy, Jyunmi, have you guys logged into either of those apps in the last 6 months?
No, I think Pi kind of, fell by the wayside when Microsoft acquired Inflection, the company that built Pi. But it was the first sort of empathic AI. It was trained to be really considerate of human emotions and sensitive to them in the context of text and converted to voice as well. So it was really quite different from most of the other frontier models. But now the founder, whose name I don't have at the tip of my tongue, is the head of all AI efforts at Microsoft, and that's the main thing that happened over there. And I think he has a partner. There's a pair of them, right? I think it may in fact be relationship partners, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe somebody in our chat will know, or somebody here knows. I want to make a correction quickly. I thought that Google might be one of the many investors behind Replit. It is not. It's Andreessen Horowitz is one of the leads in the Series B. Khosla Ventures, Kathy Wood's ARC Ventures is also behind Replit. Bloomberg is behind it, and it's originally from Y Combinator. And Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, and by the way, Sam Altman, who was the CEO of Y Combinator for a long time before becoming the maven of AI, he's not a part of the investment in Replit, but Paul Graham was a seed investor in Replit. So really big players behind Replit specifically.
So I'll throw this in really quick. Thank you, Perplexity, for this one. In March 2024, Microsoft executed a significant acqui-hire deal to Inflection AI, hiring co-founders Mustafa Suleiman and Karen Simonian, along with approximately 70 employees to lead Microsoft's new AI division. The deal included $650 million licensing fee for Inflection's foundation models and technology. The transaction involved hiring almost all of Inflection's team, including the two co-founders, leaving only 12 employees at Inflection. So that's just to clear that up, because I know we're talking about it and bringing up old stuff. But
and I'm glad you did that, because the name Mustafa Suleiman didn't come to me, but he wrote a book that was very influential in my understanding of AI and the history of it. So if you, our listeners should, if you have the time, listen to the audiobook. It'll only take you an hour and a half or so, from Mustafa Suleiman. And while it's now dated by a year or so, it's still really good foundation information about the development of AI.
Yeah. Jyunmi, I don't know. Do you have? I know you started us off there talking about like your Jaspers and stuff, but what else? Do you not see at this point? Again, anything could change, but at this point, what else do you see not really making it into your 2025 repertoire?
Joel mentioned one, Grammarly, but I think that's connected to all of the other writing tools and things like that. I'm hoping things like non-AI tools that I use with AI will go the wayside, like Zapier. I don't ever want to use Zapier again. I prefer Make and Respell. I'd love Respell to become Make, or Make to become Respell, and Make is further along that route. But I see more and more AI aspects that I need on a daily basis. I want them integrated into tools that I see that there's going to be a future with, right? So whether that be the larger platforms integrating more and more so that I never have to leave the platform, or these fairly incumbent type of platforms that still provide great value in a great AI aspect so that it's still competitive and I don't have to find a replacement for them, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out that we have some of your larger players that are integrating more and more of the AI. I can tell you something it's not that I wouldn't be using it. I'm just waiting for it to all kind of come together, is like Google Workspace. Google has really had a push here in the last 2 months or so of doing some things that I think we all could be collectively excited about, that didn't just feel like a really well polished video of stuff that may or may not make it to to real life. It reminds me of Google was kind of doing the Disney thing for a while, saying let us show you our blue sky ideas. And then Disney would get up on stage and say, look at what we're thinking about building at Magic Kingdom. I live in Tampa, so I get a lot of Orlando news, right? And so you would be like, are you going to build that land? And they were like, we're thinking about it. And you'd be like, I don't think you're announcing anything. I think somebody drew something and you put it up on a big screen. You said, this is something, right? And then they were just waiting to see what happened. And so I feel like Google was doing a lot of that, which was like, here's something cool, but also you can't touch it. And we can't really tell you if it worked as well as it looks on the video. And they seem to have corrected a little bit of that, in my impression, just my opinion on this, over the last couple months. And so I'd really love to see them. They're doing all these one-off ideas and Google Labs, and they're great because you can go test things and they see what succeeds and what people like or don't like. And some of them are sort of one-off and sort of just fun and entertainment. Others have really good use cases. But I really, in 2025, would like to see these coalesce a little bit into something that's more universally helpful to me in Google Workspaces. It's like all the pieces and parts are there. Just make it really, really easy. And I think we could comparatively say that to Microsoft Copilot. And I bet you, for a lot of people, people listening to this show who might listen to this, I bet you Microsoft Copilot is on their list of things that they may be moving away from. They may be hitting that 1-year subscription, and they may be thinking, that did not land for me. And again, wish Carl was here for this because he has a lot more experience with that. But that is something we've definitely, I have definitely heard over and over again, is that Microsoft Copilot so far has been a huge miss for people. And it's been it's been a very expensive miss. A very expensive miss because it's hundreds of dollars per seat. We dabbled a little bit because of some other things we were doing through consulting with Daily AI Show. So we saw a little bit of this early in 2024. But while it's not on my list because I never really dug into it, I wouldn't be surprised for people to say, hey, we're not continuing with Microsoft Copilot. It absolutely did not do what we were promised or what we thought we were going to get out of this AI solution.
Yeah, because you had to buy for the full year.
Mm-hmm.
I still technically have access to Microsoft Copilot, but no 365 to attach it to, right?
Exactly. That's what boggled my mind was, it wasn't an add-on to whatever other service you had. It was its own thing that you bought. And yes, if you didn't buy Office as well, then you couldn't use it anyways. So
yeah. Microsoft was way too many add-ons to add-ons to add-ons. Like you had to go 3 levels deep to figure out whether you were going to have, and then there was Copilot Studio, if I'm remembering, like that was additional add-on. So like
Yeah.
by the time you got to a point where you said, do I have the internal resources to build something meaningful for my team? Then to pay for the licenses from my team to access it per person annually. So you're buying in for 12 months. And what do we say all the time? Careful with AI right now. We've been saying this for over a year now. Don't really lock yourself into a year because things change. I mean, yes, Midjourney might come out with a 1-year annual plan. You may save 2 months off that. You go, yeah, it's Midjourney. I'm not. It's a hedged bet, right? I mean, I'd probably be okay. Those are some, established brands out there. But for a lot of times we're like careful with the 1-year plans because, well, it might be a Jasper. It might be something that you just don't see value in and you've spent all this money on it. So anyway, I see in the comments that people are like, yeah, Joel has Copilot with a nausea face, a nausea emoji, a green nausea emoji on there. Matachek says, yes, Copilot, they targeted business use, but missed. Yep. Jude says, has anyone else not paid a penny for AI yet? That's
a show. Like, can
Right.
we figure out what we're doing?
Anybody just used everything that's available for free? God knows there's a lot of it out there, and you certainly could.
I like this idea because that's my go-to. I think I finally realized that I'm cheap, and so
The last
contemplate all the time that it's like, oh, why aren't you giving this on the free version? The free, let me try it out. I need to try everything. Why can't I try everything on the free version? Then I never want to buy it.
And some have changed, right? Like Claude's free version used to be a little bit more open. Like you used to be able to get a little bit more. And I think as Claude and Anthropic have become more popular, more of I won't say household name, but certainly Perplexity, right? They've had good 2024s, I would say. I mean, OpenAI, I think everybody was already aware of them, but Claude, Anthropic, Perplexity, these have been movers in the last 12 months. Not that Claude wasn't there beforehand. But yeah, same thing like with Claude. Like I'm not going to pay for it unless when I'm teaching classes, because I teach classes on this and then I am. But typically that's a business expense. And I used to be able to use their free side a little bit more, and it's locked down a little bit more on that, Jyunmi. So it's sort of pushed me out. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I would imagine there's lots of people who use AI only in the free ways. I mean, just Bing Chat, the free side of ChatGPT, Meta, right off the bat, Claude does still have free versions of it. Perplexity, you can use it absolutely for free. And Perplexity's, I would say, free side is actually very good. Those are just 5 I can think of off the top of my head that would give you image generation. Would any of those give you video generation? I don't think so.
Well,
as part of the Pro.
If you're, to a certain extent, if you want the free tools, like throw a quarter at a billionaire, right? Because Grok is free, as is Meta AI. Because both of those companies don't need revenue from AI to support those companies. I mean, Elon doesn't need revenue from AI to whatever. AI is a passion project for vengeance, I believe, is his sole reason for that. But yeah, Grok is free. Grok will generate images. Grok will generate really inappropriate and copyrighted images for you if you ask them to. And Meta will also generate AI images, but I think they do generate video. Meta isn't.
I don't think so. I may be wrong because I haven't logged in a bit, but I don't think so.
I think they.
It has the capability. I don't know if it's for free though. That's a good.
Are there any video generators for free? Any? Does Runway have?
Yes, technically yes. You can get a set amount of credits from Runway and generate on Runway. It's the lowest version of everything, and you can do like one, but it can be done.
It's possible. Yeah. That's an interesting show idea, is like, how far can you get on $0 on AI? It would take me a little bit of research to do, but that's an interesting show concept. Good to get who said that. Who is anybody who's
I was Jude.
Jude was the one who said, I hadn't paid a penny yet. Anybody else? Yeah.
Thank you, Jude, for the show idea. We will get back to that in probably early 2025, I would imagine.
Who has Dreamlabs? Because that also has a free level. No?
Dreamlabs.
Remind me, Dreamlabs. Sorry, there's so many with labs in the name and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Dreamlabs. Well,
It's a video generator. Okay.
And we were talking just momentarily about Claude, and Claude, for various reasons, hasn't really reached the level of awareness and utilization that it deserves. Like Anthropic is way out there in performance and capability. And I've always been a fan, but I'm not yet paying for it. Why? I don't know. But I think partly because, I've got this switching cost from, focusing on OpenAI's tool set and moving over to Claude, even though I kind of know in my heart that Claude's probably better and deserves my money more in some ways. But I just recently saw some investment by Anthropic in advancing awareness and inviting the general consumer public to use it. I saw advertisement for Claude that was really well polished and introductory to the capabilities of Claude 3.5 Sonnet and so on, targeted at consumers. And I think I can't really place it, but I think I also saw something that was a video ad in social media for Claude, which was interesting. So they're experimenting with this and trying to expand the awareness. I think they have merit in their product that's sufficient to justify a substantial investment in trying to make their numbers of daily users go up. It just approximate a fraction of what OpenAI is achieving today, as we saw in some of the graphs that we shared about a month ago or so.
Claude is still significantly better, I think. Matacheck is saying coders will use Claude much more than ChatGPT. I think that's true, but Claude is also a better writer for what I want it to do.
Hands down. Hands down, you will get better writing out of Claude, creative writing, I would say specifically. But if you, given the choice between ChatGPT 4.0 and Claude, I will just say 3.5 Sonnet to write a blog, Claude.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna do less edits, in my opinion, off the cuff than you are in 4.0. Now you can go into like, oh, and what if I fine tuned it to my voice and voice paragraphs and things like that? But I agree with that. I still think Claude is just phenomenal in that way. That it's level of writing and stuff. All right, so we've had a few others in the comments here. Joel saying Notebook LM. I wonder if Joel, I'm not sure if you're saying I am using that more. I don't think I'll be using it more. That's an interesting one. I definitely see myself using Notebook LM. However, 11 Labs has come out with a competitor to that.
As has Play.
What's that?
Sorry, as has Play. We did a show on it.
That's right. Yeah. And Matt Wolf just did a thing. He has his side Next Wave. He has that side show, and they just talked and sort of giggled through. That's the right word for it. Their interview with one of the guys over at 11 Labs, but it was interesting to kind of see what they did in there, whatever. So that's going to be sort of a competitor to Notebook LM. It's interesting if Notebook LM is just one of those Google tools that it's like, let's show you what we can do, but other people will kind of run with it and make it into more of a billable model or something that we'll all know and love in 2025. Or maybe Google, I don't know, maybe Google will continue to build on it. It is free, so it falls into that, free AI tool use, which is really, really cool. Okay, I don't want to go too long with today, but you guys, you got another one?
Hang on. Jeff supplied the company that I was trying to remember. Luma Labs Dream Machine also has a really great free model for video generation.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you guys are a huge research. Jeff, Jude, Joel. Oh wait, Matt, you guys are awesome in the comments today. You're as you always are, a wealth of information. And look, you, like I said yesterday, you guys everybody in the comments. You guys just add to the conversation. So we always appreciate it. Please get it in the comments. If you want to do that, you can always go to the Daily AI Show. We do this show live every single weekday through the holidays. We haven't missed one yet. We're doing well. We have a good streak going at 10 a.m. Eastern. So you could always come, even if you're watching this on a replay, but you're like, oh, I would love to get in that conversation. Come over to YouTube, come over into the live chat when we do this show live. Now Jyunmi does a great job processing and post-processing and getting this video out in other formats. But if you want to be part of the live conversation, this is the way to do it. Join Joel, Jeff, Jen, Matashek, Cisco, and everybody else that jumps in the
I want to shout out to Stacy Clark who added a link to the YouTube interview with the founder of Replit. But I noticed also that Stacy, you're on LinkedIn, and I believe it's the case that while you can place a comment, you can't see the comments from everybody on YouTube. So we think it's true that you have to be on the YouTube thing to be a part of this kind of community chat that's going on there. But thank you for jumping in, Stacy, and providing that as well.
Yeah, good call out that she was doing that. Thank you, Stacy, from LinkedIn, because I would have missed that. But you're right, I could see the little logo next to it. Yeah, the LinkedIn side is like I'm thrilled. Look, I'm thrilled people are on LinkedIn and they're catching us live because we always go live there too. But it doesn't have the same, maybe interaction or functionality of the YouTube side, which is why we typically say it. But hey, we don't care. We love that you guys are liking and subscribing and commenting on any of the platforms, from Spotify and Apple Podcasts on just well, Spotify has the video version too, over to the YouTubes, as well as LinkedIn or any of the other ones. So wherever you're finding us, we appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, if this is the first time you've sort of caught us, or maybe the first or second, like or subscribe is great if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because like I said, we're here every single weekday. Sometimes we do additional content as well. And tomorrow, what we're going to actually be doing is sort of on this theme of looking into the future of 2025 and also looking backwards. We've been doing that this week. We're going to talk about our 2024 predictions that we put out on a show around Thanksgiving of last year. We said, hey, this is what we think is going to happen in 2024. Tomorrow, we are going to look at those said predictions, and see if we were right, if any of us were right on that. On Monday, we're going to give you our 2025 predictions. So you got two really fun shows coming up over the next couple of days. So if you're interested to see if we hit the mark on anything, did we hit a bullseye on anything? Did we miss the dartboard altogether? It's always fun to see where our brains were about a year ago, and now we'll do that tomorrow. And then on Monday, we'll do it again, and we'll say, hey, this is what we think is going to happen, and individually in 2025. So come back and join us for that. We also have our newsletter coming out on Sunday. You can sign up for that anytime you like at thedailyishow.com. That's got additional deep dive, sort of your VIP pass, behind the scenes, just more of what we talk about in that newsletter form. It's free and it's growing all the time. We have a great time putting it together. So if you want to do that, you can go to thedailyishow.com and subscribe to that. Otherwise, we will see you guys back tomorrow for our Did We Get It Right in 2024? And then on Monday, we'll be back to talk about what do we think is going to happen in 2025. So come on back, guys. And until then, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great boxing.
Allah.